Mark Sanchez, Matt Leinart, Sam Darnold, Matt Barkley, and Cody Kessler are the quarterbacks that I think of when it comes to this century of USC football. But the school has been known to produce a lot of NFL bust, and a lot of big-time recruits have gone there, but not all of them pan out when they become a Trojan. Today is the second video in my series where I take a look at every major quarterback a school has signed this century, and we determine if they're a good quarterback developer or a quarterback bust factory, so be sure to check out my same video for Michigan. We are obviously continuing at USC today, and we will see how all their quarterback recruits panned out. We're going to talk about a total of 23 quarterbacks today, their story, their USC careers, and how their professional careers went, and if they were a boom or a bust. But first, if you want to support what I'm doing here on YouTube, please be sure to give the video a like, subscribe if you love college football, and suggest another future video topic, and stay until the end. Now let's get started and talk about USC quarterbacks. Matt Cassel is a name we all know when he was born in California and became a high school football star. He attended Chatsworth High School and was a letterman, an all-city selection, and a standout in football, basketball, and baseball. As a senior, he was ranked as the number 8 quarterback and the 53rd overall player in his class, and he was a big-time name. He only made one college start as he was stuck behind Carson Palmer and Matt Leinart, but he made a name for himself at USC's Pro Day, and the Patriots drafted Cassel in the 7th round. He was a backup for a while, but once Tom Brady got injured, he had his breakout season and became a solid pro from there. He is best known for his time with the Chiefs, and he'd bounce around from team to team after that, until the Lions would be his last one. Despite never playing in college, Cassel lived up to the hype as he became an NFL starter and actually overachieved compared to his situation. John David Booty is one of the more iconic names in college football, and big-time athletics ran in his family's genes. He became a star in the Louisiana high school football system and was believed to be the first player to ever leave high school early to play college football, meaning they reclassified. He signed with USC, but he would become a backup to Matt Leinart for most of his college football career. He started all the games for USC in 2006 and was named to the first team All-Pac-10 and decided to come back for 2007 and not go to the NFL. His numbers would drop a bit, but he went 9-0 against top 25 teams in his time as a Trojan, and he was drafted by the Vikings in the 5th round, but by 2010 he was out of the NFL. He had 2 solid years at USC and beat a lot of good teams and also made it to the NFL, so it's hard to call him a complete bust, but his ceiling was definitely a little bit higher. Matt Leinart was the guy who beat John David out, and he was a big-time recruit coming out of high school. He got the starting job and had a fantastic USC career as he beat out Reggie Bush, Adrian Peterson, Jason White, and Alex Smith to claim the Heisman Trophy. They lost their first game in 35 tries to Texas in the title game, and sadly he did not get to finish his career like he would have wanted to. He was taken with the 10th overall pick to the Arizona Cardinals, but after only starting really 1 year there, in 18 games in 6 years, he's considered a major NFL draft bust. He was great in college, and he won the Heisman Trophy, so he lived up to the hype, but in terms of his pro career, you cannot say he lived up to the hype. Billy Hart was a big-time college football recruit, but didn't even see a snap on the field in his first 3 years. That wouldn't discourage him though, as he would switch sports and go to baseball, and tried to make it in the Astros and Yankees farm league system. He's always stuck behind Leinart and never got a chance, but since he was a top 100 recruit and a 4-star guy, you have to say he was a bust. Rocky Hines was a top 10 quarterback in the class of 2004 and chose to take his talents to USC. He redshirted his first year, and after being buried on the depth chart, he decided to transfer to UNLV. He did really well as a running rebel and was considered a top 25 quarterback in college football at one point, but he would struggle to stay healthy with an ACL tear, and he missed his senior season. After college, he joined some really small indoor football leagues before he took a coaching job at Bethel College, and there's nothing about what he's up to now. He was a big-time recruit and did play both college and professional ball, so it's really hard to consider him a bust because he did make money playing football, but in terms of the hype and him being the next USC quarterback, you have to call him a bust. Everybody knows Mark Sanchez as he was a 5-star quarterback coming into USC and the number 1 quarterback in his class. He was the backup to Leinart and John David before he took over as the starting quarterback, and he was the guy who made Rocky Hines transfer. He didn't play a ton in his first 2 years, but as a junior, he broke out and passed for 3,207 yards, 34 touchdowns, and only 10 picks, and was considered the second best quarterback prospect in his draft class behind Georgia's Matthew Stafford. He was drafted as the franchise quarterback for the New York Jets and actually did see some playoff success, but by 2013, he had fizzled out with the Jets and they moved on from him. He then made 8 starts with the Eagles his next year, but would only start 3 more games in his next 3 seasons, and was considered a draft bust by many people compared to his hype. But you have to say he had a good year at USC and was one of the more talked about quarterbacks in terms of Trojan football history. We're about a third of the way through the video right now, so if you're enjoying today's video, please be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know what other quarterbacks you think I'm going to talk about later on in the video. Garrett Green was a big-time quarterback coming out of high school and chose to bring his talents to USC, where he'd have a weird career. He'd never get a chance to play quarterback as he would move around from different positions from 2006 to 2009. He never got a chance in the NFL or anything, but he served his purpose for the Trojans and was admired by the fan base. He never lived up to the hype, but at least he did contribute to the team, but he is still a bust. Aaron Corp is a name I did not know before today, but he may be one of the most fascinating guys on this list, and I may have to do a video on him soon. He was a 5-star quarterback coming out of high school, and since he grew up in Southern California, he went to USC. He didn't play his first year, but he was fighting with Mitch Mustain for the backup job, which he would win. Going into 2008, he was expected to compete with Mustain and incoming freshman Matt Barkley, and he was going to win the job, but he would get injured, and the rest is history. Barkley would become a star, and Corp transferred to Richmond. He did start some games for the Spiders, would battle an injury, and even beat Duke as a senior, but his college career never really worked out. He still got a shot with 3 NFL teams, but he never stuck around. He is a bust for sure, but he did get screwed by the injury bug. Born and raised in Springdale, Arkansas, Mitch Mustain was the #1 quarterback in the country, an Army All-American, and his high school offensive coordinator was actually Gus Malzahn. It would come down to Notre Dame and Arkansas, but the Irish would get Jimmy Clausen instead, and Mustain stayed home. Mustain accumulated a 8-0 record as a freshman starter, including a win over #2 Auburn, but he was moved to the backup position later on in the season for some reason, and he would decide to transfer, which was also fueled by Malzahn leaving for Tulsa. He settled on USC, where he would battle it out for the starting job, but he only started 1 game for the Trojans in 3 years, and in that game, a USC wide receiver dropped what would have been the game-winning touchdown catch to beat the Irish. He battled ADHD, and after the game, I guess he got so much confidence that he sold his medication, but he got in huge trouble for that because it was illegal. After college, he spent time in the CFL, but never made it to the NFL, and his career was a complete bust compared to the hype. Matt Barkley was the #1 quarterback in his high school class and the next golden boy of USC out of Matter Day. With Corp getting injured, he had the opportunity to start right away, and that's exactly what he did. He passed over 9,000 yards in his first 3 years of school and was seen as a potential first-round pick in the 2011 draft, but he decided to come back for his senior year, and he told Lane Kiffin that by giving him a Christmas ornament. He had broken the Pac-12 record for total touchdowns in a season, but his senior year was a disaster after he injured his shoulder versus UCLA, and his stock dropped, and he fell to the 4th round, where he became a Philadelphia Eagle. He didn't play much and has bounced around the league, where he is now a backup for the Buffalo Bills. Compared to the hype Barkley lived up to in college, but in terms of his NFL success, he was a complete bust, but I do give him credit for sticking around as a backup. Plus, that injury did not help him. One of the more forgotten USC quarterbacks is Jesse Scroggins, who was a top 100 4-star quarterback from California that would choose USC. He was buried on the depth chart and eventually transferred to both El Camino College and Arizona. He didn't play much there though, and he eventually went to Lindenwood, where he had a total of 700 yards in his career. He never really got a shot in college, and sadly he will go down as a bust for USC. Seen as a replacement to Matt Barkley in the future of USC, Max Wittek was a guy who went to Matter Day as well and followed in Matt's footsteps and went to USC. He redshirted his first year and filled in for Barkley for the Notre Dame game in 2012, and he'd be thrown into a quarterback battle in 2013 with Cody Kessler. He lost the job and transferred to Hawaii, where he didn't play a whole lot due to a medical knee condition. He got a tryout with the Jaguars, but did not make the team. Compared to his hype, his path, and his college career, Wittek was a bust. Cody Kessler was a guy who beat out Wittek in the 2013 battle, but before that, he grew up in California and was the second best pro-style quarterback in his class. He redshirted and then became the backup to Barkley in 2012, before he got his time to shine and beat out Wittek for the starting job. He threw for 2,968 yards and 20 touchdowns, and then beat out Max Brown for the job in 2014. He finished with over 10,000 yards passing and 88 touchdowns during his USC career and was drafted by the Browns in the 3rd round. He got a chance to play as a rookie, finishing with 6 touchdowns, but it didn't last long and he then became an NFL backup, but he would start 4 more games for the Jaguars later on. I would actually say that Kessler is not a bust because he had a terrific college career and actually started a good amount of games in the NFL. Next up we have Max Brown, who I'm actually doing a collab with next week, and he was a 5-star recruit coming out of the Washington high school football system. Despite being the #1 quarterback recruit in his class, he redshirted and was a backup until 2016, when he was named the starter by Clay Helton for their Week 1 matchup with Alabama. After the game, he was benched for Sam Darnold and later transferred to Pitt before he suffered a career-ending injury. He has done some broadcasting work and actually has a YouTube channel you guys should check out, but Max did not live up to his high school hype and and be sure to turn on post notifications so you don't miss when that collab comes out next week. Jalen Green came into USC as a high 3-star quarterback, but he arrived in Southern California and switched to wide receiver. In his career, he caught 18 passes for 220 yards, had 19 yards rushing, and went 3 of 5 for 127 yards and a touchdown as a QB. He has 3 career starts as well. He was never ultra hyped up, but he at least contributed and has done something. I wouldn't call him a boom or a bust because he never really had that ceiling or that hype to begin with. Ricky Town may be the biggest bust on this list because he never saw the field in college. He was born and raised in Southern California and became a 4-star USC commit. After not playing for a year, he elected to transfer to Arkansas, where he didn't play for 2 more years. He then went to Ventura College in California before he headed to Pitt, where he didn't play a single snap there either. I honestly feel bad for Town, and he is definitely a huge bust in terms of his football career, and it's kind of a sad story that probably deserves a video. We all know Sam Darnold as a Jet and a bust to this point in his career, but for a while he had a ton of hype. He grew up in California like seemingly every other USC quarterback, and after becoming a 4-star recruit, he took his talents to USC. He redshirted and then beat out Max Brown after 1 game and set multiple USC freshman records as he led the Trojans to 9 consecutive wins that culminated with a win in the 2017 Rose Bowl against Penn State, which was a super hype moment. In his 3rd year, he was pegged to win the Heisman, and he definitely had a good year as he passed for over 4,000 yards and 26 scores. He had massive pro potential and was taken as the franchise quarterback for the Jets, but he hasn't exactly lived up to the hype, but the coaching staff also has to be taken into consideration for that. He was good in college, but has been a bust so far in the NFL. We are now getting into players who are still playing, as we have former 4-star recruit Matt Fink. He has been a backup for a bit at USC, and his only chance to really play was in relief of Kedon Slovis in the 2019 Utah game, where he threw for 2 touchdowns, which was really good. Jack Sears was a fringe top 100 player from the state of California, and like so many others, he took his talents to USC. He started 1 game against Arizona State in 2018 and did not play in 2019. He signed to enter the portal and would later transfer to Boise State, and he was the backup to Hank Bachmeier after he lost the quarterback job. It's sad for him, but he has not lived up to the hype either, and he has been another bust in recent memory. Modern-day prodigy JT Daniels chose to reclassify, and he started as a true freshman for USC, and he was alright. He came back though with a lot to prove, but would have a season-ending injury in their Week 1 game against Fresno State, and this would leave the door open for true freshman Kedon Slovis to come in and take the job, which he did. Daniels chose to transfer to Georgia, where he battled a weird injury, but he has showed major flash, and he's a likely first-round pick and a Heisman sleeping contender for next year. It's too early to tell if he'll be a bust, but in terms of his USC career, he definitely did not have the best freshman year, and he didn't play as a sophomore, so he would have to go down as a bust, even though I really like him. Kedon Slovis was a late bloomer in the recruiting world and took a late offer from USC and was expected to be the backup there. He won the backup job behind JT Daniels and would get a chance to start in their first game after Daniels went down with that injury. He showed major flash and was considered the future of USC football after he had a spectacular freshman year. He broke numerous records and came back and was first team all Pac-12 in 2020. Many see him as a potential top 10 pick for 2022 and has the potential to be the next great NFL quarterback from the Trojans. In terms of him, he's the biggest boom on this list as he was the lowest rated quarterback out of these 20 players before him, and he has a chance to play on Sundays very soon. After losing Jake Garcia to Miami, USC picked up 2 4-star quarterback commitments for the 2021 class in Jackson Dart and Miller Moss, who are both top 100 guys in the future of the program after Slovis. I'm really pumped to see which guy wins, and I don't know a whole lot about either one of them, but definitely expect videos about these guys in the future from me. If you're a West Coast quarterback kid who's a big-time recruit and you want to see college success, USC is probably a good place to go, and if you don't work out there, you're at least going to get a chance to transfer to another school, or you can rely on some sort of injury to see the field. But in terms of long-term NFL success, it may not be the best idea to go to USC. In terms of college potential and college quarterbacks, they get an A from me, but in terms of long-term NFL production, they are a bust factory in my opinion. But what do you guys think? If you're a USC fan, feel free to debate me down in the comment section and explain why you don't think so, and also let me know what school I should do next, or if I should do it for another position group. I love your guys' idea and feedback, so please be sure to leave a suggestion, give the video a like if you want more people to be able to see this video and for it to get in the algorithm, and subscribe if you have not already. I appreciate you guys checking in for today's video, and if you're still here, check out all these other videos on the end screen, including my same style video about Michigan and if they're a bust factory. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.